Excellent. Hey, everybody. How's everyone doing today? It's been a while since we've gone live. Just as always, as usual, go ahead and post in the chat that audio and visuals okay. I know it's been a while since we've gone ahead and done this, so let me know if I haven't lost my touch. Okay. Just wrapping up something I was doing earlier here. Okay. Excellent. Tron's here. Wow, look at that. Mr. Sutton in the house. Sweet. Okay, so today, guys, yeah, we're back. And what we're gonna go over today is we're gonna go over dates and stuff, right? Hopefully you've seen that I posted something on the Weaver Space community. I think I also posted it on the RapidWeaver forums about updating copyright dates. Like every January, right? Everyone's like, oh no, what do I do about applying copyright dates to my websites? I have to go and change the date and republish every website. And most years, people are like, here's a small snippet that you can use to go ahead and dynamically update your website. And there's all kinds of snippets out there. And so I decided that, you know what, I'm tired of, every year this coming up, and every year someone searching for some small code snippet that they can put on our websites. So I figured, why not just ship some solutions for this for you guys, right? So I shipped 2 updates out. Hopefully you've already got them. There's a Foundation 6 update and a Tardis update. And we're going to go over, first off, I'm going to start off with all the ways that we can update copyrights on our footers or wherever we want, okay? I'm going to go over how you can do it just with some code snippets if you want. And then we'll dive into how you can do it with Foundation and Tardis. And we'll go over how all those cool features that you can use with that. And then maybe at the end, if we have some time, I'll talk about some other date-related stuff. Okay? So cool. Thanks, Chris and Willie and Franco. And Arn, thank you very much. Sound and video better than ever. Excellent. I actually tweaked my camera settings a little bit this morning, so it actually might be a little crisper. So yeah, cool. Let's without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in and let's get started. Okay, so this is just I'm going to start off with some code snippets, right? These are actually these aren't traditionally what you've seen online. So let's go ahead and first let's go ahead and open up RapidWeaver. Okay. So here I have just a RapidWeaver site, right? And a lot of times what people do is they will go ahead and inside, I think it's the general settings, right? Yeah, in the footer, right? Depending on what theme you're using, this footer will be used. Actually, this footer isn't used anywhere. If you're using Foundation 6, you probably don't even use that. I haven't used this footer option inside RapidWeaver for, well, forever, because I've been using Foundation forever. So, but if you're using a traditional theme, this is a lot of time where you're going to put your copyright data, right? And if you're using Foundation, then chances are you're probably just putting it somewhere inside of a text stack somewhere on your page, right? Hopefully you are, at least. But a lot of you are just putting it right here inside this footer. And while by default this is just text, right? You can put code in here. Okay, so let's talk about the various ways that you can actually put code in here. Okay, let's go ahead and minimize this. And so primarily with RapidWeaver, there's 2 ways that we can get. Here, let me just fix this really quick. I copied someone else's snippet because it was one that was recommended. Let's just do that. Okay. So let's focus on, hold on one second. Let's just comment that out. Okay. Let's focus on this. This is one that's been recommended for years. And it uses, you'll notice here, we have copyright. Now, instead of putting an actual copyright symbol, it is better inside HTML to put this little ampersand copy. So there's a little tip for you. Instead of finding the little copyright symbol, which is always a pain in the butt. I think it's, I don't know, is it option C? I think. I don't even know. Is it option C? I think it's option C. No, it's not. I don't even know. I'm not even going to try to find. There's a keyboard combo that gets you the copyright symbol, right? It is better to use this. This is an HTML code where the browser will interpret that and put in the copyright symbol for you. Okay, so that is better. Okay, so just go ahead and use that. Use ampersand copy semicolon, and that will insert a copyright symbol on your page. Some people like to use the copyright symbol. Some people actually like to put the word copyright in there. It's up to you. Okay. Now in this example, I'm trying to output this. Let's say I want to output this. Here, I have a copyright on my clipboard. So let's say I want to do copyright 2011 to 2022, my company LLC or whatever. Okay. Joe Workman. Okay. So the bit here we want to customize is this date. Now, some people do a date range. Some people do a 1 year date. I don't know the legality of all that stuff, to be honest with you. I think it's just kind of what people want to do. But essentially what we want is we want this date to always be updated. Okay. So on midnight, January 1st of every year, it's going to dynamically put in the current year, right? Which is pretty cool. So this snippet here, this little script, that right there, that's highlighted, that will do just that. Okay. However, before you start copying this, okay, I'm just going to recommend that you don't use this snippet. It's one that's online. It's a lot of places. Okay. And the reason I say don't use this snippet, it uses, you'll see here something called document.write. And that is a JavaScript function that basically takes a bit of text, which this right here, this new date get full year, that is, as you might expect, the current year. Okay. And this document.write essentially just says, take that and write it into the HTML. Now, the reason I'm saying, while this is nice and crisp and clean, and it will work in any browser on the internet, even ones 20 years old, okay, this will work. However, document.write is kind of frowned upon because what happens when you do a document.write, it actually momentarily pauses the rendering of your web page to run this particular function. Now, this particular function is really, really fast, so you're not really going to notice it. But hey, it is something that is frowned upon, and Google actually will frown upon it as well, like in Google page speed and stuff like that. So try not to use document.write unless we really, really have to. Okay, so that's what led me to come up with a new way of doing this for us. And I have to say, if this isn't the end of the world if you're using this function. Okay, it really isn't. But you know what? None of us like having warnings on our site, so we're going to do it a new way. So what is this new way? I wrote this particular JavaScript function. It is a few lines of code. Okay, and all you have to do is, let's go ahead and implement this. So this is a JavaScript function. Why isn't this working here? There we go. I'm going to copy this. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into my RapidWeaver project. I'm going to go into my code. Okay. I'm going to go into the JavaScript tab, and I'm going to paste it right there. Now, what this does is this will put this JavaScript snippet on every single web page. Okay. So yeah, if you want to target it on a per page basis, you can go to each web page and then go to the JavaScript tab and paste it here. But you know what? It's just easier. We want to access this on all of our pages. I'm just going to paste this little JavaScript snippet directly inside of this site-wide code area. Okay, so now that that part's done, all we then need to do is, I'll show you how you can do it in the footer. So let's go back and go to my little code snippet here. I have a little snippet right here that's going to do this for us. So what we're going to do is, this is the magic right here. Hold on one second. Whew. Okay, something was tickling my nose. Okay, so this little span snippet here, okay, this JavaScript will essentially look for all instances of this on your page and replace it with the current year. Now, what's cool about this is if you notice here, I have current year 2021 in there. I did that on purpose, okay? And let's see what happens. I'm gonna go ahead and copy this on my page. Now, if you weren't using Foundation 6, you would then paste that right here. Okay, so you would paste that inside of your footer area and you would be golden. You'd be good to go. Okay, I am using Foundation 6. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna add this into a header just so it's nice and big on our page. Okay, and here, just for fun, let's just center it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paste that in here. All right, so there's my cool copyright notice, right? Now let's go ahead and preview that. What you'll notice is it says 2022. That's because that JavaScript snippet is updating, okay? And it's actually, changing that. Now, you don't have to, I can leave this blank if I wanted to, okay? So I'm gonna delete that 2021 inside those span tags. And we're gonna refresh. And as you notice, it's the same thing, right? So why would it might be good to have something in there? What I'd recommend is you put in some sort of default in here. Let's say there's some sort of JavaScript error on the page or something went sideways and that little JavaScript snippet didn't do its job. It didn't run for some reason, okay? JavaScript can be finicky because if there's a JavaScript error in one part of the page, it can stop JavaScript from a different part of the page from actually running, right? So let's, for example, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to break this JavaScript on purpose, okay? I'm just going to do, here, we're going to make this invalid. I'm just going to put in some invalid stuff in there, okay? So that JavaScript is now broken, okay? And if I refresh my page, oh wait, what? How is that even possible? Must be caching on RapidWeaver side. What? How is that even possible? That is baloney. Whoa, I have gremlins in here somewhere. How is that even possible? I'm gonna go over here and create a new page. What? That is crazy. Wait, what? That is not possible. Oh, I know why. I have, okay. I have site styles on the page, and something that I didn't cover yet is that site styles has this built in. So site styles was doing the work for me. Okay. Because I'm using Foundation 6, and what I haven't talked about it yet, this feature's baked into Foundation 6. So if you're using Foundation 6, you don't need this code snippet, okay? Or if you're using my Tardis stack, okay? So anyway, let's just pretend that I'm not going to go ahead and try to create a new project with a different theme and all that jazz, okay? Just take my word for it that if JavaScript breaks on the page, it's good to have a default inside that span tag, okay? So again, site styles in this instance is taking over the reins for us. So, and it's doing its job. And let me go fix that code snippet anyway. Okay, I'm actually just going to delete it because we don't need it anymore. All right. So there we go. That's easy, right? It's just this span tag. And what's kind of cool about this is you can have this anywhere on the page. You can have it a million times on the page and it will update all of them. Okay, so it's in this particular snippet, the one that I told you don't use, this span tag this particular one that I told you not to use, you have to have that snippet, that piece of JavaScript running every time, right? But this span, it's just raw HTML, and this JavaScript snippet will fix it as many times as you want. So I'm going to go ahead and I can create this multiple times and refresh, and all of them will be updated. Okay, so pretty cool. Okay, that's the JavaScript method. I will show you one more way of doing this via a snippet, okay? And that uses PHP, okay? So basically, in lieu of that span tag that we have here, okay, you can inject this short PHP snippet, and that will effectively give you the same exact results, okay? So for fun, let's go ahead and I'm gonna copy that snippet. We'll go back to this. And inside my header, I'm just going to delete this span tag. Okay. And I'm going to paste that snippet in. Okay. So here, just so you guys can see there. I don't know if you guys can, I think you guys can see that, right? I just pasted that in there. This text inside edit mode is really small. Sorry about that. Okay. So now I have, you don't see it in edit mode, but let's go ahead and preview this. And there we go. Same exact thing. Now, PHP does it on the server side. So it's executing that code before the page is rendered and injecting that. That is a 100% valid way of doing it as well. There's, as they say, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, or whatever that saying is. There's more than one way to skin a cat, right? So you do you. Now, if you are going to use the PHP method, you do need to make sure that your your page name here, so over here in your page name, right? This right here, you need to make sure that that is a PHP page. It cannot be HTML, because in order to use PHP on your page, you need to make sure that PHP extension exists. Okay, so that's the only caveat there if you want to use that PHP extension. Okay, so that's all to do with the code snippets. Okay. Let me see if there's any questions. Is it better to use JavaScript code versus PHP code? PageSpeed Insight is always sending me to reduce JS size, or is JS versus PHP? The amount of code for this JavaScript versus PHP method, it's so minuscule. So if you use PHP, if you want to get really, 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 really fine-grained technical, okay, this PHP function, yes, it is taking up server time to render the page. So it's going to take an extra, maybe a microsecond, maybe less than a microsecond, right, to process this date and ship it down to the server, or ship it down to the browser, right? But it does require server processing to run this date before every single page load. So it's again, very minor, but it is true. Okay. Now, the downside of doing it the JavaScript method, okay, is for potentially a microsecond or a fraction of a second, you may see this default date on the page before the JavaScript runs and changes this 2021 to 2022. It's possible. Okay. Most people aren't going to notice, especially if it's most of the time we don't put it at a very prominent place up at the top of the page, right? And if you saw now preview probably runs a little faster, so you'll notice it a little bit more if it's published and online, but not much, right? Again, it's just going to be a fraction of a second that you might see it change from whatever your default is to the current year. Okay, so those are the pluses and minuses. Both will work. Obviously, this JavaScript method, it happens 100% in the browser, takes 0 server processing time. So it depends on whether or not where you want that processing to happen. Both methods, again, are 100% valid. But I do want to say, Google is threatening to reduce page load or page speed scores if they see you using document write. Okay, so I would recommend not using the document write, even though it is, again, you're not going to really notice that. And this document write is very similar to what the PHP method is actually doing, but it does it in the browser, and Google doesn't like that any longer. They think document write is evil, and they don't want you to use it. Okay. I'm using this in RapidWeaver settings. I'm fully, yes. So Willie put in his snippet in the chat. It looks very similar to the snippet that I'm using with the PHP. So cool. Okay, let's dive into RapidWeaver. Okay, and look at how we can use these with Foundation 6 first. Okay, so as we saw earlier, all right, let me put in this this span tag here. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So this span syntax, okay. Here, let me go ahead and open that again. I'm going to create a new document here. Whoops. I can type new document. I'm just going to paste that in. Let's just get just that span tag. Okay. So this span tag, let's get it nice and big. This span tag, the same one that I used in that JavaScript snippet, is what is used inside Foundation, right? So this, you can actually put this current year class on anything, right? So let's just copy that class. I'm actually going to, let's go ahead and delete this. Actually, we'll leave it in there just for fun, or we'll change it a little bit. Let's just do that. All right, just to show you. Here, I'm just gonna delete the whole thing, add a new header stack in there, and I'm gonna put that class inside the header. So I just put the current year class, okay, the current year class inside classes, okay. So let's preview. What you'll notice is that current year, now it changed the entire header to be 2022. Let's see that again. There it goes, 2022. Pretty slick. Again, so you can, it's here, let's do an, basically what this is doing is it's taking the entire contents of the header and replacing it with the year. Okay. I mean, here, let's go kind of crazy. I'm going to do like I'm going to do this text thing. And then inside this container, I'm going to put in current year. Okay. And let's preview that. Well, you'll notice what it did is it obliterated all that text, because essentially what it did is it says, oh, this container has the current year class. I'm just going to get rid of everything that's inside of it and replace it with the current year. Right. So, yeah, just to show you that's kind of, I mean, this isn't valid. I wouldn't recommend you ever doing that. It makes zero sense. But I just wanted to show you what applying that class does, is it completely replaces the contents with the current year. Okay. Now, I was just going to add support for current year, but then I was like, well, you know what? You guys can thank Chris Powers for this. Because I was like, do you guys want other stuff? And he's like, yeah, Joe, I want access to everything. So we can thank Chris Powers for making me spend an entire day of adding a completely new suite of utility classes for you guys into Foundation 6. So if we add the classes stack to the page and we scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see that we have date part helpers and full date helpers. Okay, so here in date part helpers, we have access to current day, current month, current year, current hour, minute, second, weekday, day period, and time zone. And then in full date helpers, we have the current date, the current time, and then the current date and time. Okay. So let's play around with those. Let's just do that. So in this header, let's go ahead and just make it centered. Okay. So I'm going to change this current year class to be current day. Right. Let's refresh. And the current day is the 12th because it is the 12th of January, right? And if we do current month, it is the 1st of January, right? Pretty good. And then if we do current weekday, it would be Wednesday. And he's like, Joe, this is really, really cool stuff, right? Oh, Mike has a great question. It says current of the client or server. This is all happening on the browser side. So it is what is displayed of the current browser. It's where the browser is. Okay. So this is all done on the browser side. So it's wherever your customer is. Good question, Mike. Okay. So you might be asking, Joe, Wednesday, that's really cool, but that's in English. Like, what if I want Italian? I see Davide here, right? What if I want Italian? Or what if I want German? I see, a bunch of users here from Germany. Well, this is pretty cool because this setting actually checks the site language. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to German. So I'm going to change my site language to German. Now, if I go back to this homepage, we'll notice that Wednesday is now, I'm assuming that's Wednesday in German. Okay. Really, really cool. So this is completely 100% dynamic. It checks the current language of your website and applies the same language to your dates. Okay. So what does that mean? What about if I do current, there was a snippet for current date. Okay. So current date, if we notice what that does is that outputs the date, not only in German, but in German format as well. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to English. Let's change it back to, it's at the top, English. Okay, let's go back to our homepage. And voila, it changes it not only to English, but it will, sorry, those in the UK, it does American format. You can complain to the creators of JavaScript about that one. Okay. But later on, I'll show you how we can adjust and tweak these formats. But there we go. So we have date. We also have, let's look at time. Okay. So that's the time. And again, let's say this is by default, current time is 12-hour time. But let's go ahead and go to general and let's go to Italy. Let's go to Italian. And we'll notice there is, it goes to, well, it's now 24-hour time, right? If this were over right now, it's 11:28 for me, right, in the morning. So, but this would be a 24-hour clock. Okay, just to show you how it adjusts the locale. Okay, and if we do current date time, there we go. So there is the current date time in Italian. Pretty slick, right? Very cool. And someone asked, where do we find these documents? There is a classes stack, okay? And if you add that classes stack, it documents all the utility classes in Foundation. And at the bottom is all the classes that you can use for date part helpers and full date helpers. Now, we can use these date part helpers to kind of create our own date, okay? The full date helpers are going to print out the full date and time. Okay. But these parts, using these parts, we can kind of create our own. Okay. So let's go ahead and show you that. So instead, right here in this header, I added the class to this header, right? I'm going to delete that. Okay. And let's play around with this. So what I'm going to do is here, actually, let's go ahead and let's look at it big. Okay. So this had our year. Okay. So let's go ahead and copy this and we'll just paste it a couple times. Oops. Hold on 1 second. Let's do. Okay. So we want, let's say the month, day, and year. Okay, so I want the current month. I'm I'm going to set our defaults just for fun. 112, and we'll do 22. Okay. Or let's make it wrong so that it we know it's working. Okay. So I can use these spans, and then what I'm going to do is I can put whatever I want in between them, right? Here, let's make this a little bit smaller. So if I do like a slash, okay, and I can do, so here I have the month slash the day slash the year. Okay, let's go ahead and paste this code into here. And there we go. We see that I have the month slash days year. If we preview that, it changes all of that obviously to today's date. Okay. Now, if you guys don't want that funky, American format, let's go ahead and switch this to day, month, year. Okay. Did I do that right? I think so. Yeah. So now we have day, month, year. Okay. And voila, there we go. The 12th of January, 2022. Okay. So you can combine these little span tags to kind of create whatever you want. And again, you can use these as many times as you want, right? You could also do, let's say here, let's just have some fun and do like, I'm going to do, yeah, let's just do that. So here I'm going to do weekday, comma, then the date. There we go. Oh, we're still in Italian. Let's go ahead and switch that up here. There we go. Right? So now we can do weekday and then comma and the date. Again, it's really up to you. You can mix and match these all you want. You can just put these span tags wherever you want on the page, and it will put in the current date and time. But as Michael pointed out, this is the local time of the computer that is visiting the website, right? It's where the browser is. It is local time there. It is not the time of the server. Okay. We'll get to that actually. If you want the time of the server, I can show you that later on. Okay. So it's dynamic. Yes, it is dynamic, Michael. Sweet. Okay. Next up is Tardis. So let's say you don't use Foundation 6, okay? And you want to have this same exact functionality, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and use Tardis. So I shipped an update to Tardis. There is a new stack called Tardis helpers, okay? And if we add that stack to the page, okay, what you'll notice is it gives us access to the same exact classes. So we can do everything that I just showed you if you don't have Foundation 6 with the Tardis helper stack, okay? And I should note that if you add Tardis helpers to the page in Foundation, it actually disables Foundation. So it disables Foundation's classes, okay? So that you're not getting double processing. So as you see this snippet here, it behaves exactly the same with Tardis helpers, okay? Now with the Tardis though, we get some nice things, okay? Because it is a stack, we have some settings. We can actually customize, let's say the class prefix. By default, it's current, right? So here we had like current weekday, current day, current year, right? Let's say we wanted to change that to be now, okay? So all the classes now change to be now dash whatever. And here, let's just go ahead and do this. Let's update that snippet. So now all my classes say now, right? So if we preview this, it shows basically the wrong thing. It shows whatever all the defaults were, right? But if I go ahead and update, so all the classes are the now class, there we go. Okay. So So Tardis gives us a nice thing where we can actually customize the classes that we want. Then as you see here, it actually allows you to update the format. So like, let's say when I use the month, let's say I want it to be the long month, not a number. Okay. On the day, oh, we always want a 2-digit, but let's say we want a 1-digit day. So instead of it being 03, it'll be 3. Okay. Numeric year, let's keep the 4-digit year. Then you have full access to the hour, date, hour, minute, and seconds. And weekdays, the time format. Do you want to force a 24-hour clock versus forcing a 24-hour clock, or 12 versus 24-hour clock? And then if you're using those, here, let's go ahead and I'm going to copy and paste this. And here we're going to do, actually, we're going to get rid of that. I'm just going to add a new header stack to the page just so we can have 2 snippets on the page at once. Let's go center. And here I'm going to do the, now dash date. Okay. Or let's do date time so we can see everything. Okay. So in this date style, we have, different styles of date. Now, depending on your locale, it might not be, it's going to do whatever is the standard date format, a full date format in your language, in that language, right? So let's go ahead and select full, and for the time, we'll do medium, okay? So let's go, and that's gonna, I put the now dash date time, which is going to include the full date and the full time. And again, I can control those formats here somewhat, okay? If you want full customizability, you have to use those span tags, okay? So let's go ahead and preview that. So you see this first one, this is done with those span tags using those now classes. And then this one is just a full blown, just using that one single now dash date time class. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. And let's go ahead and for fun, let's go ahead and change this to be German. Okay. We go here and voila. Everything adjusted to be German. And if you notice here, the date, you probably wouldn't do the slash format here, but the date here used the the full name because that's what I said it to be used. Let's go, if we switch that to be the 2-digit, there we go. Pretty cool. So that's Tardis helpers. Tardis helpers, again, it makes it a little bit easier if you wanted to have access to customize not only the classes, but all of the format, okay, that those classes output. Pretty cool. Yes, Willie says he put it in the chat that the HTML copyright symbol is handled by I put it here, this pound copy. I think you can also do ampersand pound sign 169, but that's kind of hard to remember. I think pound sign copy is, or ampersand copy is easy to remember. Can you do GMT times as well? Yes. So in Tardis, let's see, if you want to display the time zone, you can actually do GMT plus offset. So by default, it would display here. Let's add time zone in there, right? So it is now dash time zone name, or just for fun, or I'm just going to type it in here. So we're just going to do now dash time zone name. Okay. Oops. If I can learn to spell properly. And you have to be careful. The cases are important here. So time zone name, the Z and the N are capitalized. Okay. I did that on purpose. Long story. It just has to be that way. Okay. So if you see there, I did time zone name and I set the format to be GMT -8. And if we change the format here, so if I set that to be, let's say the long offset, right? Oh, interesting. Oh, I guess Safari doesn't support the other formats. Interesting. So it's either short or long. Oh, I'll have to update that. I'll ship an update. So it's either long or short. I guess the other formats aren't supported by, oh, and that's in German. No, it's good English. I think most people read that. There we go. So Pacific Standard Time. Okay. And then we have short PST. And then we have short offset. Oh, interesting. Short offset doesn't work. Long offset doesn't work. Okay, there we go. Interesting. I will have to update that. I'll have to reread the docs. So it looks like currently the time zone, it supports short and long. Although at first I had that GMT -8 in there, which is interesting. I'll look into that. Okay. Good question. You are PSD time. What if you want the local time and GMT time? If you want more control, then you're gonna have to use something completely different than everything I showed you today. And I can dive into that. I think I'm pretty much done. Let's see. For Foundation 6 users, if you don't have Tardis, you can do some configuration via these JavaScript snippets here. Okay, so inside the classes helper, I gave you this little JavaScript snippet that you can copy. And it's essentially the same thing as those stack settings that are inside Tardis, but you basically have to do it, inside on your own, essentially. So you would just modify these. So the month would be 2-digit, and your options are up here. So your options are numeric, 2-digit, long, short. And then for all of these, your options are numeric or 2-digit. For these options, you have long, short, narrow. For 12-hour, it's either true or false. And then for time zone, you have long, short. I thought you had short offset and long offset, but obviously those aren't working right now. So I'll look into that. But you have long and short, it seems. Okay. As options. So yeah, you could take this and then you could paste this into the JavaScript tab. Okay. And then with all your customizations, that's how you can tweak those settings using if you're using just the Foundation 6 snippets and you don't have Tardis. If you have Tardis, it's very convenient just using that Tardis helper stack. Okay. Because all those settings just handle it for you. Okay. So this is nice. So there you go. I'll probably in an update add Tardis helpers into site styles as well. I'll probably add it as a feature up here. So that'll be a nice thing. Okay. I think we're done using copyright stuff. Okay, so I have about 15 minutes left. I will go ahead and show you some other stuff. So Michael, you seem to really want the ability to define the exact time zone or use your server time zone to display a date and time. And the Tardis time stack is what you want here. Okay, Tardis time allows you to you can define what sort of element you're placing the time in. You can define your language. You can define your time zone. Okay. And if you want, a prefix and a suffix. So if you want to add text to the beginning and end of it. And then you have full control over the formats here. So you have the format, you have what you want the weekday, the month, the day, the year. So there's a lot of format option here. Okay. There's even a custom option that lets you do some crazy stuff. Okay. And this, again, you define the time zone, you define the language, and it will display that. Okay. So there you go. Hopefully that helps out. This Tardis time is going to be what you want. If you want to have full control over the time zone of the time and even more options for formatting. Okay. So if you want to show both, then you can use Tardis time and the helper classes. So you could use a combination of both. So hopefully that helps out. Okay. Next up, so what other things can we do with time and what other options? Tardis is, I'm not going to do a full-blown tutorial on Tardis here, but Tardis allows us to do some really, really cool stuff. Not just for displaying time, as you saw with Tardis time, that allows us to display time, but Tardis allows us to control content on our web pages with time, right? So here we can schedule content to be displayed, so we can have it, automatically show at a particular time. We can also stop it at a certain time. So if you want to show content on a web page between this time and this time, you can do that. You can control it with Total CMS, and then you can also do things yearly. So you could be like, every year between January 23rd and December 23rd, show this, right? So Tardis is a really powerful way, maybe to display something over the holidays, display something, if you have a particular product launch or something that you're launching at a particular time or day, this is exactly what you'd want to it be hidden from the web page until that particular time, right? And then if you want it to automatically be removed, you can then display a specific time for that to be removed, okay? And these start and stop times can also be configured with Total CMS. So if you're using Total CMS, there's a date picker in there. You can control the times with Total CMS as well. Okay. Tardis days. This is great for things if you want to, maybe you want to display something on your website like, our store is currently open, come on in. And you want to display that every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or something like that. Or maybe, Wednesdays you have some sort of special and you want to display that. Okay, you can do that. And you can also add a time window. So you could be like, Mondays and Wednesdays from 8 to 5 or something like that, right? It gives us a lot of flexibility. You can also do day of month, which on particular days of the month, or days of the month range. Okay, so Tardis days gives us a lot of really cool functionality. Tardis days isn't yet controllable with Total CMS. I've had a few requests for that. I need to completely rehaul the stack to be able to do that. It's on my list. I do see a need for that. Maybe after Total CMS 2 or something like that. Okay. We saw the helper. Tardis test just allows you to test a particular time zone to test the other stacks. So that has to do with everything with Tardis. Okay. Can you do a countdown? Yes, I do have a countdown stack called Liftoff. I'll admit it is a bit dated. It needs a refresh. I started a Liftoff version 2, which looks like this. I never launched it. It still needed some work. And yeah, Liftoff, the original Liftoff version, works great. It does on smaller mobile devices. If you include seconds, the layout gets a little funky. Okay, I'll admit, and that's why I started version 2 a long time ago, and I never got around to finishing it. It's on my list. But yeah, hopefully one day I'll be able to finish Liftoff 2. Yeah, hopefully. But Liftoff does have a display counter, and Liftoff has some cool features where it'll actually, after the countdown, it'll dynamically display the content and stuff like that. So Liftoff is pretty cool. I do have version 2 started. Okay. Next up is some other ways to display dates. Actually, today's stack is a quite interesting one. Actually, it kind of gives us this iCal style card, and you can have it display the current date, right? Okay. You have full control over kind of the style of it. So you can really change the style of the look of this date. And what's kind of cool is actually, if you didn't know, the Today Stack's been around for a very long time. And I actually integrated it with Total CMS. So you can actually use this in your blog list or on your blog post page to display the date of the current blog post in a nice, attractive manner. So yeah, it's a pretty cool stack. I don't see it used very often, but yeah, it's a nice one. I like it. Give it a shot. All right. You can also do, let's see, rounded, flat, square, desk. Oh, interesting look. Cool. So yeah, check out Today. It's a nice one. Again, it just displays dynamically either. Oh, I set it to be Total CMS. Let's just do Today. There we go. Okay. And there's various, other style features for it and whatnot, but it's pretty cool. I think that pretty much does it for dates, right? Yeah, I have, again, Tardis date is a really great one. The Tardis stack in general, if you want to control dates and display dates and all that jazz, it's a really good stack. Total CMS obviously has a date control as well. So I kind of alluded to that since it integrates with Tardis. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today. Hope you learned a little bit. Hope you enjoy and use those utility classes. Pick up Tardis if you don't have it. It's a great stack. And sweet. Can't wait to see you guys again next week. I'm probably gonna have to adjust the schedule of these live streams a little bit. I'm taking a course that actually happens on Wednesdays at noon, so it starts in 10 minutes, and it's gonna happen for the next 2 months or something like that. So yeah, I might tweak the times a little bit, but we're definitely going to be, full blow ahead, full steam ahead on doing live streams again. And I look forward to it. Hopefully we'll see you guys on Friday at our Hangouts. And those are always a lot of fun. And thank you guys for joining today. And we'll see you guys next week. Take care. Bye.